going on, everyone? My name is Jamon McKinney, or you can just call me Juice because that is my nickname. I am higher on the Detroit Lions than most people. I believe the Detroit Lions are going to potentially be competing for a playoff spot this upcoming season. Now, will they make the playoffs? Maybe, maybe not. But I do think they will be in the playoff conversation this upcoming season. I think that Detroit is a vastly underrated team, and I will tell you why they will be better than you think. Because keep in mind, Detroit last year was a fairly decent team before Matthew Stafford got injured. But let's just say, oh, Detroit was bad last year, because in reality, their record was not very good. They were picking top 3 in the draft. Why should you have faith in a team that was picking top 3 in the draft to make the playoffs potentially, or at least be in the playoff picture? I point you to the 49ers and the Buffalo Bills. The Buffalo Bills and the 49ers last year made the playoffs. Guess what? Both those teams, the previous season, were picking top 3 in the draft. The 49ers, they had the number 2 overall pick, and then the Buffalo Bills, they had the number 9 overall pick. Both teams transitioned and made some changes in the offseason and were playoff teams this past year that were very good. Detroit can be the Buffalo Bills or the 49ers of last year, 2 surprise teams, or maybe even the Tennessee Titans, who were probably the biggest surprise of last year. Matthew Stafford is a very good quarterback that continues to get underappreciated, in my opinion. Matthew Stafford, in my opinion, is a quarterback that has been wasted by a subpar franchise. Matthew Stafford, to me, is one of the 8 to 10 most talented throwers of the football in the entire NFL. When you combine arm strength, accuracy, decision-making, the ability to make plays off platform, to change your arm angles, make passes down the field in the tight windows, deep ball accuracy, Stafford has it all. Stafford, to me, has one of the 3 to 5 best arms in the NFL when you combine arm strength, accuracy, the ability to throw deep, and just make plays with your arm. He's up there with Mahomes. He's up there with Aaron Rodgers. He's up there with the big boys. He's got a very big-time arm, in my opinion. It's been wasted for years by the Detroit Lions. And listen, Matthew Stafford last year had this team at 3-4-1 last year before he was injured. And that's not a great record. But I think that it's noteworthy that the Detroit Lions were not god-awful when Stafford was starting games last year. Stafford last year was on pace to have his best season ever. Stafford last year was on pace to throw for 5,000 yards and 38 touchdown passes and 10 interceptions and have a passer rating well over 100 before getting injured. And I expect Matthew Stafford to carry that momentum into this season. Matthew Stafford has some of the best weapons that he's ever had at his disposal. Now, he's never going to have a wide receiver better than Calvin Johnson, because there's flat out never been a more talented wide receiver in NFL history than one Calvin Johnson. But Kenny Golladay, he's a real player. Kenny Golladay, last season, had over 1,000 yards. And the previous year, he had over 1,000 yards as well. Kenny Golladay, the last 2 seasons, has 16 touchdown catches. And last year, he led the entire NFL in touchdown catches. Marvin Jones is a very good number 2 option. Okay? He's very, very good. He's a reliable target. Danny Amendola as your number 3, that's a solid option. TJ Hawkinson, I know he had a disappointing rookie season, but TJ Hawkinson, we're just removed not too long ago from him being talked about as maybe the next Rob Gronkowski during the pre-draft process. Now, I did not believe those reports, and I did not see Rob Gronkowski when I watched the film, when he was at Iowa. But TJ Hawkinson could have a breakout season this year. Not to mention, Matthew Stafford now has a real running game. Kerryon Johnson, good running back. Deandre Swift, many people felt he was the best running back in the 2020 NFL draft. I argued for Jonathan Taylor, but Deandre Swift, he was in my top 5. Bo Scarborough showed some promise last year. And I think the Detroit Lions will be better on defense. You look at a guy like Jeffrey Okudah, who is the best defensive back in that draft. You look at a guy like Jamie Collins that they brought in at linebacker. He should be a good player that adds juice to that defense. Trey Flowers is an underrated player. You look at a guy like, Desmond Trufant, who they added at corner. Very good player from Atlanta. Detroit should have 3 really good defensive backs at their disposal. Detroit is going to be a well-improved team, in my opinion. And listen, last year Detroit was not an awful team. They were not an awful team. They lost 8 games by 1 possession. And a lot of those games were lost because they didn't have their quarterback, Matthew Stafford. They were in games with backup quarterbacks. They were competing in games with backup quarterbacks. Did they win any of those games? No, they didn't win any of those games. But Detroit is not going to be a laughing stock this year. They're going to be a well-improved team this year. I think Detroit has some real players. They're going to be able to score some points on offense. I think Matthew Stafford will have his best season yet. They can run the football with those 3 really good running backs. They have above average tight ends and wide receivers. And on defense, they'll be good enough. They'll be good enough to win games. Now, they need more at the pass rushing position because outside of Trey Flowers and the kid that they drafted out of Notre Dame, whose name is escaping me, they don't have much of a pass rush. So that's why I have concerns about Detroit. They don't have much of a pass rush. That secondary is going to have to play very, very well. And their new defensive coordinator is going to have to get the best out of these players because last year Detroit's defensive coordinator was god awful. But this year they bring in a new defensive coordinator. They signed some good players in free agency and added talent through the draft. And overall, I'm just going to say this right now. I don't know if Detroit's going to be a playoff team, but don't sleep on the Detroit Lions because honestly, they're one of the more underrated teams heading into the 2020 NFL season. And I would not be shocked if Matthew Stafford puts up MVP numbers this year, as this is the best running back core that he's ever had, and arguably the most complete wide receiver and tight end group that Matthew Stafford has ever had to throw to. And Matthew Stafford last year was putting up MVP numbers before getting hurt. Don't sleep on Matthew Stafford and the Detroit Lions in 2020. Thank you so much for watching this video today. Please also note that the Juice Alert Sports Podcast is not just a YouTube channel. It is available on all podcasting platforms, including Spotify, Google Podcasts, iTunes, and Apple Podcasts. Also, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share this content with all your friends. This podcast is my favorite thing in the entire world right now. It is my passion. And I want more people to listen to this podcast. I really want this podcast to grow. Also, a fun fact about me is that I want to go into the sports broadcasting and media world once I graduate from the University of Toledo, a college in Northern Ohio. I am looking to become one of the next great sports broadcasters and analysts out in the world. And I potentially would like to start my own network if this podcast really truly grows. Or if I fall short of that goal, I would love to work for a big-time network like ESPN or Fox Sports 1. I am open to all networks. So if you believe in my dreams and you see or hear my passion through the screen, be sure to tell all your friends about the Juice Alert Sports Podcast. Stay motivated, you guys. Have a God bless day, and I'm out.